Right then, I thought, as I'd promised Tristan, I'd do a little video about mapping for my campaign. Started off actually just drawing a map on a piece of A4, just a simple outline. Obviously I based it on reality to a certain degree. This part is sort of like based on Europe, this part is based on North Africa, and this part will be based on the East. Yeah. So, and I've nicely encapsulated an inner sea, which doesn't look too different from the Mediterranean. And basically, it's the idea is that it gives me the opportunity to sort of look at the real world in a small area. So, do you know what I mean? Like the climate and the weather and the terrain and all that sort of stuff is, you know, is real. So it's quite easy. The only thing I'm doing is the fact that it's not real in as much that there's no real countries or anything, it's just all made up. The time period for this is sort of based on the late Dark Ages, early medieval period. So you're talking about spears, bows and arrows, knights and that sort of stuff for my campaign. So, but obviously at the moment I'm painting up loads of Greeks and Greek hoplites and stuff, so they're going to be in there, as well as ancient British, Romans, Normans, just things that I enjoy. So that's by the by. Anyway, mapping. So I drew this map, and then what I did is I scanned it into the computer like so, and I opened it up in an image editor and got some hex paper and produced that. Okay. What this is exactly the same picture scanned in, and I cut out bits and pieces, so I could sort of like make it look pretty. Okay, so that's that bit. The idea of making a digital copy on the computer is the fact that I've always got this representation at this scale. I'll just talk about scale quickly. Each one of these big hexes that you can see here, yeah, in this direction is 1,500 miles. Okay, each one of the little hexes in this direction is 150 miles. So what the reason I'm doing like that is because it helps me manage time. Because in the campaign rules I have movement rates at the slowest speed, which is caravan speed, of 15 miles a day. So therefore it takes 10 days to get from the centre of that hex to the centre of that hex. Okay, so that's why it's like that. Anyway, what I then did was I got the trusty old D6. Well, actually no, I didn't strictly do that. I drew some mountings based on you know, like faults and stuff, and placed it onto the mark off. So I actually created the mountings, which are the sort of them colours there, and I did a thing there and I followed it through there and there and there, because I thought it gives me that was the only control bit of this. But then for the hills, which is the yellow ones, are all a D6. On the score of a 5 or a 6, it was a hill. Okay, which sort of randomised the terrain. So I coloured all that in and I transferred that to my digital copy, and I produced this, which is a relief map. So you can see the mountains and you can see the high ground. So what I then did was with the D6 again, I rolled for wooded areas. By wooded areas, I mean like for large tracts of forest that you would have at that period of time. You still have, doesn't exist now, but in the Middle Ages it did. There was a lot of big forests all over the place, and that produced this. So we have forest, you know, forest areas. At this scale, all this allows me to do is to plan out the overall topography of the land and at this stage you can start to see places where you would have easy transport, you know, where there's no hills, where it's basically white is unrestricted. That where it's basically white is also low ground, so you'd expect rivers and things to be flowing through there. It allows you to design the landscape easily. Okay, I then transferred all this to the computer, produced this map, which is basically just a prettified map of the stuff we've done. So it's mountains, hills and stuff, and I put trees. You can see where the trees are and things, so it just gives you a better visual idea of what's what. So this is like an overview map. Okay, I thought that looks pretty, so I'll make it a bit more pretty and put some climate on. So now we have a climate map, as it were. So we go from the cold north to the hot deserts and the green swathe of stuff. It just gives you a better idea. So this map is mainly just for me to know what bits of terrain. I'll flick back to this one because it's easier to see. It just gives you a bit of easier to see what detail you need to put in places, because obviously all this is for is to just create the world. It's not an active map in that respect. So the next phase is to look at various places around, and what we'll do is on this map here we'll go to one of the squares, which is actually this square here. I changed the map since I've done this. What I used for these are these hexes, these large hexes. So one of these big hexes is equal to one of the small hexes in there, and this breaks it down. These are 15-mile sections. Okay. For argument's sake, all I did here was then roll again with the same system of D6s, one for trees, one for hills, and just detailed the area so you get a better topography. And the next phase is to sort of map this up. Now I'm not doing this for every single one of these. I'm only doing it for certain areas because we're starting off the campaign in certain areas. Each one of these equates to sort of effectively as a barony. So there'll be like one seat of power. In this instance, it's a port down here, and I will calculate out the amount of wealth the area has based on the sort of stuff, because the next phase of this would be where these open lands are, is to roll to see what they are in relationship to the productivity. So are they farms, are they scrubland, are they marshland, whatever, and you have different, and I'm calculated out like there's a river going through here, so this will be probably, there'll be a higher possibility of having this as fertile land. Yeah, closer to a coast it's going to be more infertile because of salt. As you can see, I've written like there's mountains there, so I modified the dice rolls on a 4, 5 and 6 that it'd be high ground. On in the centre it was on a 5 or 6, it would be high ground. There were woods here on the adjacent square, so, and hills, so in these first two hexes round here it's 4, 5 or 6 for woods and hills, and as you move in it just becomes a 5 or a 6 for a hill or a wood. Further still, each of these hill and wood areas, well not the hills but the woods, will be, I'll do another roll to say whether it's dense wood or light woodland. So that'll be the next phase of this particular stuff. Once I've got the system done, it takes about half an hour to build one of these little things, and that's part of the fun, I suppose. So that's where I am as far as mapping's concerned. So I'll do an update when I've got some more stuff and we begin the campaign. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope that was worth it, Tris. See you later. Bye.